A lot of times we get caught up in creating systems, inventory, things that actually cause waste or over optimizing each individual department, but it actually reduces the overall goal of optimizing for making more money. All right, I'm Jason Hull. This is Sarah Hull, the owners of DoorGrow, the world's leading and most comprehensive coaching and consulting firm for long-term residential property management entrepreneurs. We recently kind of split paths, right? So that you could go learn some stuff and I could go learn some stuff. We had two really cool opportunities. One I was very much more interested in than the other because I was learning about AI, which I've been geeking out on. And then you went off to go to a profit event. I would love to hear what you kind of took away from this event and what you learned. And
I wanted to go over my notes on one speaker in particular. I'm just going to call this like notes from a billionaire, and not just a billionaire, but a multi-billionaire, and not just a multi-billionaire, but someone who is the founding member and CEO of, I think they said they grew it to like, it was a ridiculous number, like 740 billion, or it was a big number. It was a very large, impressive number. And he was so nice. I actually had a conversation with him before I even realized who he was. I was chatting with him. I wish I would have done. Like, I recognized the name, and then I saw him speak, and I went, man, I would have asked him a different question. His name is Jeff Hoffman. He is one of the founding members of Priceline. They started it and scaled it to many hundreds of billions of dollars. And this is some of the advice that he had shared with us in his speech. Well, the first thing that I wrote down, I don't know if he can be credited with saying this or if he was quoting someone else, but he said it, so I wrote it down because it resonated very much, was ideas are welcome here, but execution is worshipped. And I think that's really powerful, because how many times do we all have this great idea? Right? Oh my God, I had this idea. Oh my God, I had this idea. Oh my God, we should do this. We should do that. And what if we did this? There's no shortage of ideas. It's execution. That's the hard part.
I like
is
that.
Turning an amazing idea into something and bringing that to life and bringing it to fruition.
Yeah, there's too much attention a lot of times on the idea and the planning and all this stuff, but actually executing and actually getting something done, that's really all that matters. You can have a million ideas. If there's no execution, then who cares?
So you have to ask yourself, is this an actual problem? Like, what you're doing, does this solve some sort of problem? And then bonus points if it's a big problem, right? So if we go back to the story of Priceline, many, many years ago, those kiosks that are in every airport that you can just check in on. You do not need to go and talk to a gate agent or a ticketing agent. They didn't used to exist. You used to have to go stand in line and wait forever to get your ticket and your boarding pass and perhaps physically give somebody your bag. And a lot of times people would miss their flight because the line was so long, and you never knew ahead of time, like, is this going to be a 10-minute line or is this going to be a 2-hour line? So people would miss their flight. And at one point, he was in the airport, turned around, looked at the line and went, wow, this is such a crazy long line. And he decided, I'm going to start interviewing people right here and right now. And he went around asking people individually, how long have you been waiting? Would you think it would be valuable or beneficial if there was some sort of service where you didn't need to talk to the gate agent and people were bidding on it? They were bidding. They were like, I'll give you $10 if you can, get me my ticket without talking to the gate agent. And then somebody else will go, no, forget $10. Like, I'll give you $50 for that. And somebody else will go, oh, like, I must get there today. Like, I will give you $70 to get there today. People were bidding on it in line. So he realized, one, there's a problem, but actually it's a big problem. So he knew he was onto something right there. The second question is there a better way to do this? So is there a better way to check in for your flight than waiting in line and talking to a gate agent? Yeah, there sure is.
Yeah.
It just hadn't been invented yet. And then the third is there a value equation? Which all that means is, would somebody buy this? And he knew that, one, he had a problem and it was a big problem. Two, there was a better way to do it. And three, people would definitely pay for it because people were bidding on it while I was standing in line. So those are three questions that you can kind of ask yourself. If you're going, okay, I have this idea. Should I do this? Should I act on it? Should I create something with this?
Seems pretty simple. I think a lot of times we get really disconnected we study stuff, we learn stuff, we think we know, but when you actually go talk to your target audience and do a little bit of product research interview, you can find out a lot of things, that problems they have, things they need, and actually connect with what you're wanting to sell them may not actually work. So yeah, I think that'd be super helpful.
Vinny kind of gave tips on, well, if you are looking to seriously, massively scale a company, because it's not, let's face it, not every company gets to 1 million, certainly not even to 1 billion, and absolutely not to hundreds of billions of dollars. These are tips that he had given the room in order to help you scale. And everyone thinks, oh, if I scale, I've got to do more. And actually, you have to do less to be able to scale at that large of a size.
Okay.
So he said, find your gold medal product or service. If you remember, if you would go on Priceline when it first launched, there was different tabs up at the top, right? You could book a flight, you could book a hotel room, you could book a cruise, you could get a rental car, you could do a vacation package. Like, they did all of the things.
Yeah.
And they were scaling, but it wasn't to the size that they wanted to get to. And they went, okay, if we only did one thing, what would it be? Like, what are we the best at the world at? And for them, it was hotel rooms. So they said, okay, it's not that we have to cut the other stuff. It's just that we're not going to market it. We're not going to advertise it. But what we will do is we'll go all out on hotel rooms. So they didn't cut the other things out. Next is find your gold medal talent. So what was their gold medal talent? Any guesses? It was their algorithm.
Oh, okay.
For
their
connecting
hotel
people
algorithm
to hotels. So their algorithm was their talent. They had a talent in that. What is Amazon's?
Shipping.
It's delivery. So if you remember, Amazon didn't start selling everything on the planet. It started as a book store. So somebody had asked him, well, what do you have to, what does it take to be successful? In this internet thing. And he said, just find somebody who's a really good Jeff. So Amazon, they got fantastic at shipping. And they only did books. And Jeff Bezos said, hey, I'm only doing books right now. And then when we get to a certain size with books, then I want to branch out and then we'll do everything. But I don't want to do everything first right now. I just want to build our name and our reputation solely on books. Why?
Okay.
Because they were amazing at shipping. And now, anytime that you buy something online, usually what's the first thought you think? Amazon probably has that. Why? Because they'll ship it. And then you need to shape your brand. That's the third piece of this. You need to ask yourself, what question are you the answer to? So shape your brand around that. And then you've got to, in that arena, you've got to find your brand asset. So everyone goes, why should I work with you? I just watched a Jeremy Miner video, like at his live event. And he had a microphone and he went up to someone in the audience. And he said, hey, why would someone work with you? And he let them answer. And he goes, okay. And then he goes to the next audience answer. And he goes, why would someone work with you? And he does it again. And he goes, okay, so all of you guys really sound the same. You're in wildly different industries and companies, but you all sound the same.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't sound the same as everybody else and expect to stand out. So if you could only give one reason that somebody would work with you, what would that one reason be? It's not about all the reasons. It's about the one reason. And that shapes your brand. If you aren't sure, you don't know, if you're like, I don't know, there's a lot of reasons why somebody would work with us. Ask your customers.
Yeah, like, why did they pick you?
Why? What is the one reason? What is the one main reason that you decided to work with us? And do that, ask 10 people, because that data will tell you what is it that your customers have found in your messaging, even though maybe you didn't do a great job at delivering it. They talk about broadcasting versus what they call narrowcasting. So this is focusing on the right people, not just any person. Okay. Because for every product, for every service, for every brand, there are the right people and then there's everybody else. So if you're trying to close every deal, it's almost like an impossible game. Who do you target? Well, we target people.
Everyone.
People. Really? Who do you target? Well, I work with real estate investors. Well, geez, okay. There's only like hundreds of millions of those in the world. Which ones do you target?
Yeah.
Right? So some of this goes into our client-centric mission statement when we take our clients through their company culture stuff. But we want to get really, really clear on who are my people, not just who are people that could buy this. What are the right people to buy this, to work with me, to choose this, right? There's a difference.
Right. If you target everybody, you target nobody. then you're just more noise in the marketplace. Like we're pretty niche at DoorGrow. We target long-term residential property management companies in the US. Like that's our target audience that do third-party property management. Do we get other types of clients? Sure. But that's our bread and butter. That's who we focus on. And that's very specific. Those are the people we know we can help. And I'd say we're the best in the world at that. This episode is sponsored by Blanket. So really like the team over at Blanket. Blanket is a property retention and growth platform that helps property managers stop losing doors, add more revenue, and increase the number of properties they manage. Wow your clients with a branded investor dashboard and an off-market marketplace while your team gets all the tools they need to identify owners at risk of churning and powerful systems to help you add more doors. So check it out. It's an amazing property retention platform. Even if it's switching owner hands, you keep the properties. So check out Blanket.
So what he did is he profiled people. I know that sounds like nowadays we're all like, don't profile. No, profile your best customers, your best ones.
Okay.
That target audience.
Yeah.
Who were your easiest sales? Who are your biggest fans, right? Figure out what do they have in common. They all have something in common, but what is it? He profiled his best customers again and again and again. And he went, look at that. The new ones, they don't do it. The old ones, They don't do it either.
Makes me think, like with our clients, who is almost always a guarantee to close? That's the profile of the target.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do, is you want to profile the ones. It's like a shoo-in. If I didn't close this, it would be insane, right?
Yeah.
And what they even took it a step further. They actually created a 100-point scoring chart.
Yeah.
And there were different questions. One of the questions was that one, for example, like how long have you been with your company? So if you're like 1 to 2 years, he would give them like negative 20 points.
Yeah.
So you have to ask these questions. And what his team got so good at doing once they implemented this 100-point score sheet is they could ask a couple questions, do the math in their head, and then immediately decide, is this worth my time? So if you knew you were talking to a 40, go to lunch. You're not going to close it. It's a 40 out of 100. Like, go home. That's it. But when you would get your 80s, when you would get your 90s, you'd be really excited. You'd be like, oh man, okay, let me invest into this. So they created this whole scoring chart. I thought that was so brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty standard feature in a lot of CRMs is lead scoring. And coming up with a rubric or an algorithm for scoring your leads can be pretty significant. It's a difficult thing to figure out, though. You've got to really know which customers are good. So you can kind of figure out, how do I score someone to duplicate these people?
And this is probably something that will help you figure out how to score people and what questions to ask and what do they all have in common. He said, spend a day in the life of your customers and do it often. So the story that he told us, there was a company that when it launched, he was having a conversation with them and he said, hey, why did you launch your company the way that you did when every single market expert said it wouldn't work? And you did it anyway. And it worked and it was wildly successful. But what made you go, no, I'm going to do it anyway? And the answer was, well, that's easy. I didn't even ask the market experts. So I didn't know that they didn't think that it wouldn't work because I didn't bother asking the market experts. Jeff said, well, what did you do? He said, well, I asked my audience.
Sure.
I asked my customers. That's it. He said, okay, well, how did you do that? So in this little town, the owner of this company, he would be in his office with his team all day. His team had MBAs, there were finance executives, there were accountants, right? Not his target audience. So he would get changed into jeans and a flannel shirt and a John Deere hat. And he would go across the bridge to the bad side of town and he would sit in a diner all day long. Every Friday he would do this. And he would just talk with people who would come in there. He would just make friends with them. He would chit chat. He would ask them questions. And he would just gather data. And he used that data for his launch. Do you have any guesses? Walmart.
Oh, Sam Walton.
Yeah. So this was Walmart.
Okay.
Every single expert said that will never work. And he said, yeah, I don't need to listen to experts. I need to listen to my customers.
Right.
Because the customers are going to tell you what they want.
Yeah, they're the ones buying, so they know. So it doesn't matter what experts say. It matters what the customer says.
The experts don't understand everything like your customers do. Listen to what they're telling you.
Sometimes customers don't tell you what they want, but if you are connected with them enough, you can see what they're having problems with and what they're struggling with. And sometimes they just think that that's normal. They're just like, yeah, hiring's hard, And then I'm like, cool, we built a hiring system that solves this problem, right? And a lot of people just kind of say, yeah, it's, it is what it is. And they don't really think that it's a solvable problem sometimes. So that's where I think you need to ask your customer, but you also need to, sometimes your customers are wrong. Like they don't know. And you have to be able to be creative enough to figure out what would they want if they recognize this problem. And then sometimes you have to sell them. We attract a lot of people at DoorGrow that think they want leads and they think they want digital marketing and they think they want SEO. And then we have to guide them towards what they actually need and sell them what they actually need, which is totally different.
Okay, I'll go one more story and then I've got a closing quote. So I think we all know at this point the brand 1-800-Flowers, they're huge now. Yeah. So before they used to be huge, Jeff went out to go visit one of their shops. And everywhere in the shop, they had posters printed up, like slapped on the walls. Every wall, in every room, in the hallways, in the bathroom, in the garage, in every single room. And it was just printed up on the walls. Sell more flowers. Why? Because that is what we're all about. That is the only thing that we care about, is selling more flowers. We don't care about anything else. We are only here to sell more flowers. And every single person in this company exists for one reason and one reason only, and that is to sell more flowers. So every single person, every single minute of every single day needs to be thinking, how can I sell more flowers? So it doesn't matter what their role was in the business. They need to be thinking, how can I sell more flowers? So he was walking down the hall and there was an admin. She did a lot of the paperwork, answering the phones, things like that. She's got this huge stack of papers and she's like walking down the hall with a stack of papers. And the owner says, hey, whatever her name is, Susan, hey, Susan. And he points up to the wall and he goes, what are you doing right now? And she goes, puts the paperwork down, turns around, walks away. And Jeff said, well, what on earth was that? And he said, we have a rule. If you are not doing something that can somehow be connected to how does it help us sell more flowers, my rule is you do not do it, ever. So whatever she was doing, clearly, was not connected to sell more flowers. So therefore, I reminded her, sell more flowers. And she stopped promptly what she was doing and went back to what she should be doing, which is sell more flowers. So they continue on this tour. They get back into the back of the shop, into the garage where they've got their van for deliveries. And they had a mechanic. The mechanic is underneath, away, and he goes, watch this. Hey, Joe. He points at the wall. He goes, what are you doing right now? And Joe says, oh, well, I was installing this new filter on all of our vans because this new filter, it saves us X many dollars in gasoline per tank. I think it was $8. He goes, so we save with this new filter, we actually save like $8 per tank of gasoline. So I'm going to install each of the filters on our vans. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside and tell marketing to print up some coupons for $8 off of a bouquet of flowers. And we're going to run that as a promo. Because if we just saved $8, that means we have $8 extra. So we might as well run a promo and that'll help us sell more flowers. And he goes, yeah, it's brilliant. Do that. So the mechanic is thinking all day, every day, how do I sell more flowers? Now, would a mechanic generally be thinking about selling flowers? No. But it wasn't lost on him because all day, every day, he's staring at a big sign that says sell more flowers. So it doesn't matter what you are doing. If it's not connected to helping us sell more flowers, what you're doing does not freaking matter.
This goes along with a book called The Goal by Elihu Goldratt. And the goal, spoiler for everybody that wants to read this operational book, is to make money. And so a lot of times we get caught up in creating systems, inventory, things that actually cause waste, or over optimizing each individual department or each individual step. But it actually reduces the overall goal of optimizing for selling more flowers, for example, or making more money. So sometimes team members standing around doing nothing is more effective than them building more widgets for the next step, because it just creates more waste or more inventory or like constraint. And so that's the idea, is the goal is to eliminate all the constraints to create momentum so that you get that money coming in. And everybody should be focused on that goal. Because it's very easy to get caught up, and like he could be super caught up in, I'm going to make the cars run hyper effective and efficiently, but maybe that just causes more financial spend, or maybe that doesn't help them sell more flowers, for example. And so when everybody understands the overall goal and how they fit into that puzzle, then instead of just focusing on, well, I did my job, or I'm doing this, they're focused on, is this helping the goal? And I think that's super important to get everybody on the team to focus on, because a lot of times everything's siloed. They focus on their little department, they focus on their little role, and they forget the overall goal of the company is to make money.
Right. So even like your property managers, your leasing agents, your operator, like everybody who's on what I would call like back end, they have the same job, which is to get more properties to manage. So even if you're not in sales, it doesn't matter. Salespeople, it's very obvious, the connection. It's like, duh, yeah, so close more contracts and close more deals, and then I have more properties. Duh. Great. But how does that apply to your leasing agent? How does that apply to your property manager? How does that apply to your receptionist who's answering the phone? How does that apply to your AI tool? So if everybody and everything is aligned with the one goal of the business, which is, I don't care what we do unless we sell more flowers. I don't care what we do. I don't care. There is no point in changing the tires if it doesn't help us sell more flowers, right?
Yeah.
So I don't need you here just for that thing. If we don't sell more flowers, I don't need you to change the tires. So they've got to be connected.
Yeah.
And that was a great example of how somebody even so far removed from the back end of the business.
If you talk to your team and you ask them, what are you doing? And you had a sign up that said, like, get more property management clients. A lot of you aren't focused on that. A lot of them are like, well, I'm just talking to every tenant all the time. I'm talking to every owner all the time. Is that helping the goal of you getting more clients? No, a lot of things aren't. Is it helping you keep clients? Cool. That is part of getting more clients, is keeping the clients. But yeah, if it's not related to keeping clients or getting more clients, managing more properties, then there's a lot of bloat and a lot of waste in property management companies. We see it all the time. We're really good at helping you see it. So if you want to make more money and you've got a decent number of doors, you've got 200 plus doors, come talk to us. Our program will be paid for by probably just the first stuff we help you with in the first month. It's a no-brainer.
We'll close it out with this.
Okay.
He said, as a quote, don't chase money, chase excellence, because excellence follows money.
I like it.
Because a lot of times that's what people want. They're like, well, I just want to make enough money.
Yeah.
I want to make more money. It won't matter if you're not excellent in what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, those of you listening, if you have felt stuck, stagnant, want to take your property management business to the next level, reach out to us at DoorGrow.com. Also, join our free Facebook community just for property management business owners at DoorGrowClub.com. And if you want tips, tricks, ideas to learn about our offers and DoorGrow, subscribe to our newsletter by going to DoorGrow.com/subscribe. And if you found this even a little bit helpful, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on whatever channel you found this on. We'd really appreciate it. And until next time, remember, the slowest path to growth is to do it alone. So let's grow together. Bye, everyone.